Assuming I don't get too lazy and drag my feet on this, I should be uploading this video on December 22nd, the same day the Iron Claw is set for wide release in the United States. You may have noticed I have done a video or two centered on the Iron Claw over the last year plus, and I'll have at least one more. I haven't seen the movie at the time I'm making this and plan on doing something of a review to wrap up my Iron Claw journey. Before I do see the movie, I wanted to address something about it that became public before the great majority of people saw it for themselves. That is the exclusion of Chris Von Erich from the movie. I do want to make it clear up front I am not criticizing the decision to make the movie without Chris as a character. I understand it as far as trying to tell an already complicated and tragic story and keeping it in the time frame of a couple of hours or so. It's certainly not the first time a story has been changed for the benefit of making storytelling easier or more dramatic. I even did a 5 things video on that if you want to give it a look. I think most people can comprehend the reasoning behind why Chris was left out of the movie, even if they don't agree with it. But it's still just odd, no matter where you stand on that. Well, it's easier to ignore a person being left out of a movie from a story years ago before any of us were born. Chris is someone world-class fans and Von Erich fans remember. Chris was born Christopher Barton Atkinson in Dallas, Texas on September 30th, 1969, the last child born to Jack and Doris Atkinson. Chris followed his brothers Jack Jr., who died a decade before Chris was born, Kevin, David, Kerry, and Mike. Of course, the family is better known by their wrestling surname, Von Erich. Chris was born with severe health problems, including asthma, forcing him to take medications that stunted his growth and made his bones brittle. Growing up in an active household that put an emphasis on physical fitness and athleticism, Chris was likely often the odd man out, even within his own family. All the Von Erichs grew up around pro wrestling, but none more so than Chris. Not only was his father a pro wrestler his entire life, but because of the age difference with his oldest brothers, Chris grew up watching them too. Chris was only 6 when Kevin made his debut, not quite 8 when David started, and almost 9 when Kerry began wrestling. Before Chris was a teenager, Kevin, David, and Kerry were already superstars in the Dallas area and becoming global wrestling stars. The brother he was closest to, Mike, was preparing to make his in-ring debut just 2 months after Chris's 14th birthday. It was almost like life was teasing him. Chris was surrounded by some of the biggest stars of a profession he had a passion for and a ready-made entry into, and may have wanted it more than any of the Von Erich brothers. But his health problems and physical limitations prevented him from having it. At his biggest, Chris was about 5 foot 6 inches tall or so and weighed about 175 pounds. Due to his brittle bones, he was limited in what he could do in the ring, once breaking an arm landing after performing a simple drop kick. Chris worked behind the scenes in world-class wrestling and did occasionally get involved. It wouldn't be until after the world-class merger with the CWA and the creation of the USWA that Chris made his in-ring debut as part of a feud with Percy Pringle, defeating the future pallbearer on June 22, 1990 at the Sportatorium. Chris had a total of 9 matches, tagging with his brother Kevin a couple of times, with perhaps the best-known match of his career being a tag match with Chris Adams against Pringle and stunning Steve Austin. Chris's final match was on March 31, 1991 in Davis, Oklahoma, where he defeated Todd Overbo. 6 months later, 18 days before his 22nd birthday, Chris took his own life. If things were different, if Chris didn't have the health problems and physical limitations that stemmed from them, maybe he would have gone on to be the biggest star of the family. Maybe a lot of things would be different. I suppose that's another reason Chris's story made it difficult to work around for the movie. His life was tragic, but short. While I don't think director and screenwriter Sean Durkin should be criticized for leaving Chris out of the Iron Claw, I do think it's important to say Chris is not forgotten by those of us who were there. Even though his involvement was sporadic, he provided some great memories for world-class fans. We were there when he hit Buddy Roberts with a chair to save Mike from an attack. We were there when he tackled Gino Hernandez as the handsome half-breed tried to escape after losing a hair match at the Cotton Bowl. He was part of world-class, and he is part of our memories.